Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Second year, how are you? I hope you will be fine. We will continue with development and aging, our chapter number 21, and today is the lecture number 4, and this is the last lecture of this chapter. After the completion of this portion of your chapter, you will be able to define the colostrum, role of prolactin, hormonal regulation, and comparison of breastfeeding and bottle feeding, genetic abnormalities in embryos, and disorders during embryonic development. Lactation, it is a secretion and yielding of milk by mother after giving birth. Milk is produced by mammary glands. The first secretion is yellow colored colostrum, and it is rich in protein, which is globulin protein. It is with little fat and with less lactose than in a normal milk. It is yellowish secretion, not a normal milk, or it is a false milk. True milk production begins after a delay of 2 or 3 days after birth, and this colostrum is rich with antibodies, particularly IgA, protect the baby from infections. Role of prolactin. It has two major roles in milk production. It induces the lobular alveoli to grow in mammary glands. Alveoli are the clusters of the cells in the mammary gland that actually secretes the milk. Prolactin stimulates the lactogenesis or the milk production after giving birth. Serotonin, it is a neurotransmitter. It is synthesized by the mammary glands. It sends actually feedback signals to the hypothalamus that slow down prolactin release once the mammary glands are full of milk. After birth, prolactin releases gradually, and continual milk production depends on mechanical stimulation of the nipple, normally provided by the sucking infant. Mechanoreceptors in the nipple send impulse to the hypothalamus, stimulating secretions of PRH. What is PRH? Prolactin releasing hormone. Here we have a chart or a flow chart for prolactin. Hypothalamus produces PRH. PRH targets the anterior pituitary, then anterior pituitary produces PRL, and PRL targets the mammary glands, and mammary glands produces milk. So these prolactin and serotonin are the interconnected with each other, in both play a vital role in the production of milk and maintenance of the milk production. Second is the role of oxytocin. The sucking of the baby on the breast stimulates sensory receptors around and in the nipple. Nerve impulse passes from receptors to the hypothalamus, which also stimulates posterior pituitary to release oxytocin via a positive feedback mechanism. Oxytocin causes dilation of milk ducts and thus promotes the ejection of milk from alveoli of the mammary gland. It is also sometimes called the letdown reflex or the milk ejection reflex. Oxytocin is produced more quickly than prolactin. It makes the milk that is already in the breast flow for the current feed and helps the baby to get the milk easily. Here we have a table of comparison of breastfeeding and formula milk feeding or the bottle feeding, and we have the two headings or the categories: advantages of breastfeeding and advantages of formula milk feeding or bottle feeding, and disadvantages. um, First, the breastfeeding and advantages of breastfeeding: has antibodies, no bacteria in breastfeeding, foodstuffs is correct proportions, no risk of allergic reaction, and no preservatives, build mother child bond, no cost, no preparation, breastfeeding trigger the reduction of uterus size. And advantages of bottle milk: less painful, other people can feed, obviously, um, may contain supplement vitamins and minerals. Now, the disadvantages in breastfeeding: disadvantages are may be painful for the mother need to be present all the time, and it may damage the beauty of the mother body. And in disadvantages of formula milk, it is more likely to develop illness, diarrhea and urine infection, etc., risk of wrong mixture, and it is expensive also. Listen, girls, in your book we have a table on your page number 161. Here is the breastfeeding and bottle feeding comparative table, and we have the headings of nutrition and advantages and disadvantages. So these are the same things in your book and here in the slide. You can read this from your book also. Okay ji, now the disorders. The structural, behavioral, functional and metabolic disorders are present at birth are called embryonic development disorders or birth defects. We can divide these disorders or defects into different categories, and these different categories are four. First one is malformation. You can see here the malformation is a primary structural defect resulting from localized error of morphogenesis. Then the second disorder is disruption, is specific abnormality that results from disruption of normal developmental process. It depends on time, not on agent. Then the third one is deformation, is an alteration in shape, structure of previously normally formed part. Then the fourth one is the syndrome, refers to a group of anomalies occurring together that have a common cause. Here we have different syndromes, or you can say the babies with appearance of different types of syndromes due to different problems. Genetic abnormalities and spontaneous abortion. Approximately 50 to 60% of first trimester and 20% of second trimester miscarriages are due to chromosomal abnormalities within the fetus. The factors leading to this cause include chromosomal abnormal sperm or egg, abnormal cell division of the fetus, and chromosomal abnormalities of mother or father. Postnatal development. Further development of young one after birth is called postnatal development. We can divide this postnatal development into different stages, and the 5 life stages of postnatal development are: number 1, neonatal, period extends from birth to 1 month. Infancy begin at 1 month and continues to 2 years of age. Third one is the childhood, and it begins at 2 years of age and lasts until adolescence. Adolescence begins at around 12 or 13 years of age and ends with the beginning of adulthood. And fifth one is the adulthood or maturity, includes the years between ages of 18 to 25 and old age. The process of aging is called census. Okay, ji, here is another term, allometric growth. Unequal growth rate in different portions of the body of an organism that give rise to the final shape. Growth of a particular structure at a constantly greater rate than the whole. This is known as allometric growth. As a result of simultaneous changes in patterns of growth and development, relative proportions of various structures in human changes, the size of head in human newborn is large in proportion to the rest of the body. As a human grows and matures, its tarsus, hand and leg grow more rapidly than head. Tarsus and metatarsus, you have learned all these terms in your chapter of support and movement. Okay? Recall those terms. The brain and skull grow very rapidly after birth, reaching 90% of adult size soon after the age of 6 years. The lymphatic system also develops early. Finally, the reproductive system grows very slowly in childhood. Maximum growth of these organs occurs during puberty. Now the aging. Progressive changes over time leading to loss of physiological function and eventually death is aging. Factors are maybe genetic and extrinsic. For genetic factor, several evidences have been discovered that show aging has a genetic basis. Experiments have shown that human cells will divide less than 100 times outside the body. This is because of short length of telomeres. Telomeres are the specific nucleotide sequence at the end of chromosomes. When we are conceived, our telomeres are full length, but each time a cell divides, the length of telomere is decreased. If these sequences are shortened to a critical length, the cell is no longer be able to divide. When cells cannot divide, damaged tissues cannot regenerate and we begin to wear out. Second type of or the factor of aging is extrinsic. It is due to poor health habits. Osteoporosis is the progressive decline in the bone density. As a result, fracture is most likely to occur. While there is no denying that osteoporosis occurs as a result of aging, certain extrinsic factors are also important. The occurrence of osteoporosis itself is associated with cigarette smoking, heavy alcohol intake, and perhaps inadequate calcium intake. A moderate exercise program has been found to slow down the progressive loss of bone mass. If the diet includes fruits and vegetables, good health habits, sensible exercise, it will most likely help to eliminate cardiovascular disease, the leading cause of death today. Now the sign and symptoms of aging: increase susceptibility to infection, greater risk of heat stroke or hypothermia, slight decrease in height as the bones of our spines get thinner and lose some height, bones break more easily, joint changes ranging from minor stiffness to severe arthritis and falls or stupid postures. And in aging, we have primary aging and secondary aging. In primary aging, there are fewer hair follicles, so the hair on the scalp and extremities thins out. Older people experienced a decrease in the number of melanocytes, making hair gray and skin pale. In contrast, some of the remaining pigment cells are larger and pigments appear in the pigmented blotches appear in the skin. Immune system too no longer performs as it once did, and this causes decreased resistance to infections. Other effects of aging are deafness and fading vision, reduced ability to adapt to stress. It is important to remember that different individuals can be affected to different extent. Secondary aging. The characteristics are the result of environmental lifestyle factors such as diseases and lack of exercise, include smoking, obesity, malnutrition, and exposure to extraviolet light. Okay, second year, this is all about the development and aging, and I hope you will understand the terms and all the definitions and techniques and different mechanisms here in this chapter. And we will continue with the Ma'am Sadia now after this lecture, and then I will continue inshallah. Till then, Allah Hafiz.